week on the Just Baseball show. We just finished up the first full week of the Major League season. We've got the first full week of the AAA season under our belts, and every other level of minor league ball is going. Today is Monday, April 10th. Jack, Aram, we're recording on Sunday. Happy Easter, Aram.
Oh, gosh. Did you
get
have
why
that
I
one?
said happy? Because
Yeah, I do. Did you have that one saved up? Did you see that on like a Hallmark card or something?
No.
You made that one up yourself?
No, I mean, everybody under the fucking sun has said Happy Easter before.
I haven't heard that before, haven't I? Yeah, happy Easter, man. You don't celebrate though, right?
No. You can wish me a Passover if you want. Happy Passover.
That was Friday.
Yeah, but it carries through a little bit.
Oh, nice. It's like one of the okay. Well, happy Passover, man.
Thanks, and thanks for doing that unprompted. Hey, I feel like we're getting into a good rhythm of baseball now, and I think the way that I best saw it was I had some indie friends over on Saturday night, and I go and bring another one up in my apartment, and we walk back into my apartment, and I get the question, "Hey, Jack, do you go grocery shopping?" Because my fridge was just empty. And like, that's how I know it's baseball season. Because like, I will go grocery shop for maybe 24 to 48 hours at a time. And then after that, it's like cuties, like clementines and a PB&J. And like, that's my schedule there. So we're in baseball season now.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's so what a lot of players were kind of working with for a long time until, teams started to provide food. But still, I think a lot of players still roll with that kind of approach. I kind of do too. I like it, but there's nothing better than you watch the big league games, 7:00, you watch the West Coast games, and then I got the laptop up looking at, one of the West Coast games for the minor leagues or whatever it may be. Like we are fully in the rhythm of like all baseball on all cylinders, even college baseball, which Pete Flaherty, Pete Apple are going to talk about in the coming days, next episode. Yeah. So it's like, we're hitting that like baseball, what would be the word that would describe it? Like it's almost like that eclipse where like all of the baseball is happening at once in a way where like everything overlaps perfectly, which is one of the best times of the year.
Yeah, 100%. And it's also like we're just getting back into the mojo. Like this is our happy time. The 6 months of regular season Major League Baseball is great, but when you've got every single level and you've got that new season feel, the scent hasn't worn off yet. It just feels really good. And this is pre-dog days. And I'm not saying that the dog days suck, but like the dog days, you can forget how much you love it. We're still in the phase where like you love every single pitch you watch, which is really fun. And we've got a lot of takeaways. I've got 9 things on my list to walk us through. But if I'm not mistaken, I don't think we ever went over the minor league pay bump.
No, I don't think we have, which is a big deal.
I don't have a hot take on it. It's great. I love
hot take. It sucks.
Yeah, hot take. These guys should be poor. Period.
Yeah, less money. They don't deserve it. They're playing a kid's game, right? Yeah. It's a kid's game. They should be paying the teams to be playing this game, right? Yeah. Just the same way that you pay for a men's league, you should be paying to play in the minor leagues. It's even cooler. No, but really, honestly, the only complaint maybe you should have is that broadcasters were not included in this pay bump. That could be a fair angle because I'm just going to put you in a really uncomfortable spot where you can only be set up for a weird response or one that makes you uncomfortable. So Jack, minor league pay.
Yeah.
Broadcasters. That's we're advocating for broadcasters here. They matter too.
I'm really happy for the players. And
no, but okay. No, jokes aside. Jokes aside, it's huge because also here's my serious thought. We've bumped it twice now, right? Yeah. The first time we bumped it like 20%, and that was like a whole show. It was a whole big deal that we were bumping it 20%. And they effectively, once minor leaguers finally had some leverage with the union actually like incorporating them, the MLBPA, and just having everything kind of involved there where they have more leverage, a little bit more say, and they've got the Big League Players Association kind of, going to bat for them. It's so funny how just like with a snap of the finger, we're doubling their salary. It shows you how much wiggle room Major League Baseball had here. We always knew that, but it's just funny. Like we've had 2 pay bumps over the last few years, which is great. And it's still not that much. And it just shows you how much room they had to be able to pay without really feeling it whatsoever. And it just shows you how it was such an important thing for us to be annoying and complain and talk about this, because it just shows you how far off they were just a few years ago.
Well, and these numbers are hilarious. Passan put these out on March 29th, and I'm going to work complex to AAA. The complex, guys were getting paid $4,800 a year. $4,800. They upped that to $19,800 a year. Low A, $11,000 to $26,200. High A, $11,000 to $27,300. Double A, $13,800 to $30,250. And then AAA, $17,500 to $35,800. So here's the thing, man. Those first numbers are like illegal. Like you are below minimum wage. These next numbers, you've got the highest level of minor league baseball. You've got 10-year minor leaguers that, have never sniffed a 40-man roster. They're making $36,000 a year. That's still not good, but it's a little more respectable.
It is no longer, I think, at the point where it's like, if you're making that amount of money, you can make ends meet where you're not compromising your dream to support your family, right? Before it was like, the amount of hours I'm spending on this, I can't support my family. Now for 35 there, like, yeah, it's a lot of your time. It's still not enough. You do a side gig, like you can support your family. That's where it needed to be, at least, right? And we're at least there. The complex is a joke.
$4,800 a year.
You could be more. You could make more as those guys. Like, instead of standing out there in the outfield in the hot sun, you could stand on the side of the road and spin a sign around, saying, "Go over to this car wash and make more." Yeah. Like that's just crazy to me. So no, I'm really pumped about it. I'm happy for minor leaguers. It's a great start. I think we can continue to bump it because a lot of these, I know minor league teams aren't extremely lucrative, but if you look at what a lot of these teams bring in still, and they're not the ones that pay these players, but it's just an example of like these affiliates. They're still doing well enough to where I think they could have even paid them what they were getting paid before and survive as affiliates, a lot of them. So major league teams should be able to double that without blinking. And it's nice to see them finally doing that.
100%. You love to see it. Another note from Passan before we move on to our next thing. Players are getting paid year round now. So you're asking, before this, you were asking 16 to like 25-year-olds who have zero financial literacy probably to take 6 months of pay that you get during the season and spread it out over 12 months. Like you're asking them to budget appropriately. Now they're getting paid year round aside from a 6-week break in the winter. And like these guys, I promise you know how to handle a 6-week break in the winter.
When I was 18, 19, if you gave me money in 6 months and like for 6 months, and then the next 6 months said, I hope you held on to that money in the first 6 months,
go on.
I don't know what I would have done. I don't think it would have been very good. No, and again, they don't have anybody even helping them with that. So great to see, good for minor league baseball. And it shows you when major leaguers go to bat for the minor leaguers, just how easily some stuff can get done. I'm glad we're finally seeing that synergy there and having major leaguers advocating for these minor leaguers. There's no pay your dues. There's no, oh, you got to go through what we went through. Fuck that. You should want better for the next group of guys in the next wave, because not everybody's going to be as lucky as you, the big leaguer, to get to where you are. So that is the best part about this. And, again, hopefully we see another bump soon, but this is at least a semi-acceptable place to be, which is we've never been there before.
100%. And it's only going to get better. We cannot go backwards, which is a huge thing about this. Moving to the Major League Baseball that we saw this weekend, this from Passan yesterday. First of all, belated golf clap to the minor league pay increase. But this from Passan yesterday, or on Saturday. This was when they were about to move to 8-0. Every win in their first 8 games had been by at least 4 runs. The last team with that many consecutive 4+ run wins was the 1939 New York Yankees. Joe DiMaggio hit 380 with an 1,100 OPS for that team. That came from the GOAT, Sarah Langs. Now, after they beat Tampa on Sunday, Passan, the Tampa Bay Rays are the first team since 1884 with a run differential of more than 50 over their first 9 games of the season. In 1884, the mound was 50 feet from home plate, and it was the first year pitchers were allowed to throw the ball overhand. So the Tampa Bay Rays are doing something that has never been done in real baseball. Tampa has the best starting pitching in Major League Baseball right now. Drew Rasmussen was a fucking freak again on Sunday. Shane McClanahan looks great. Zach Eflin looks worth $40 million. Jeffrey Springs is an $100 million guy that is getting paid as a $31 million guy right now through his first 2 starts. You're still without Glasnow. Shane Baz likely out for the year with TJ, maybe back half of this year. This team is utterly insane right now. And I haven't even talked about the bats. And you know, I want to stick on the rotation for a minute, and then I want to give the bats their due, because this lineup construction is just so fascinating to me. But what's your main takeaway from the starting rotation and the pitching staff in general?
So, I mean, well, this team, and you can only beat who's in front of you. So I do want to mention just quickly, like, who they have beat, because they are so positioned to just carve through those kinds of teams. But that's this isn't totally a let take away from them kind of thing. Sorry, I can't speak right now. But basically, yes, they have had a soft schedule. But the point that I want to make is that the way that the Rays are built with the pitching, with the bullpen, and with the way that they're able to just always score enough runs. Right now, they're scoring more than enough runs. But we were talking about how the Rays don't really have that area where, whether it's through the rotation, whether it's the bullpen or whatever, they don't have that scheduled loss. And I think you're seeing that here. So sure, they might get punched in the mouth by the Yankees in a series, or you know, another good team, the Blue Jays, whoever knows. One of those more talented teams in the American League, even if they're not more talented, they might catch them in a couple games. But what stands out to me with the Rays is that they're almost always going to win the winnable games. They're almost always going to win the games they're supposed to win, and they're going to have a lot of matchup advantages. And we're seeing that. Like, they will beat up. I think their record against sub 500 teams when the season is over is going to be better than any other team's record against sub 500 teams, because of the way they're constructed. They're never going to have that, like, oh shit, this guy's pitching for us today. Like, even good teams like the Yankees, I know he was good in certain spots, but like, the Yankees are rolling out Clark Schmidt. The Rays will never roll out somebody like Clark Schmidt. I still think Clark Schmidt could be a fine 5, but like, there's nobody in the Rays rotation right now where we're like, oh, he could be a fine 5, I guess, right? Like, everybody's like a 4, 3 or better. So that's kind of what stands out the most to me with the Rays. But the other thing that I think is really impressive is how many different guys are able to contribute. And you look top to bottom, is everybody going to hit this way all year? No. But I think there's a legitimate case. I know Jose Siri's banged up right now, but just listing all of these guys could plug in if somebody goes down and carry their weight and help you win. And if you plug and play them in the right spots, you're in a really good spot as a team. Wander Franco, Randy Arozarena, Jose Siri, Josh Lowe, Isaac Paredes, Manuel Margot, Luke Raley, Brandon Lau, Yandy Diaz. These are all really good contributors. Francisco Mejia, Taylor Walls, Harold Ramirez, Christian Betancourt. These are all guys that could start on a lot of teams. And these are guys that are, you know, kind of sharing duties for this really good undefeated Rays team right now.
So, I mean, this lineup, we'll get to this lineup now, but I think that point is perfect. They have no scheduled disadvantage in there, scheduled loss in there. And the thing is, you know, you ask yourself, okay, Taj Bradley looked great in his second start in Durham. When Taj is ready, who gets booted? There's no answer right now.
I don't think there's a scenario where Taj actually boots somebody out of here. I really don't.
Okay, so how about when Glasnow's healthy? Who gets booted?
That's the crazier question.
Right?
How about when Baz is healthy?
Tyler Glasnow may not have a spot in this rotation. That's how good it is.
Yeah. Do you go 6-man? I would potentially consider 6-man rotation,
yes, especially
with the way that they battle injuries. But I guess he takes Fleming's spot, right? Like, are you really going to expect Fleming to continue to shove? Like, he takes Fleming's spot. But okay. Because I guess Fleming's technically the 5th spot right now, right?
Yeah, but then you've got Taj. If Taj is like beyond ready, do you just piggyback Taj off Glasnow, who's coming back, and we know like he's
if Taj shows, we talked about on the call up, they're really babying Taj a little bit unless there's an injury that we don't know about or discomfort that we don't know about. You know, they don't always talk about what guys are feeling. He's only thrown 50 pitches in each of the first 2 starts. To me, I think they're doing that to pace him so that when September comes around or earlier than that, he can be pitching at the big league level, and they're not going to say, oh, he already threw 140 innings in the minor leagues. Like, we can't stretch him out like this. So I think they're pacing him all year for a big league call-up, but I think he serves like that swingman role for them, which is insane. Yeah. And he's the alternate for Glass now. Like, he's the insurance policy for Glass now. I think Boz will ease back from Tommy John, and they'll probably put him in the bullpen. So they have two starting pitching prospect types, and Boz and Bradley, who could easily be rotation guys and could dominate in multi-inning relief out of the bullpen. They, just like the lineup that we were talking about, pitching-wise, have endless ways to mix and match too. So that is why this team, are we, getting really excited about an 8-0, 9-0 start against a lot of bad teams? Sure. But it's because we're getting a taste of what is a team that is built for 162.
Yes.
And that's really exciting.
Yes. And I'm not calling this Rays lineup the bad news bears, because everybody's a world-class talent in here, right? Like, they're all Major League Baseball players and good Major League Baseball players. But, you got to think about some of these guys. Wander Franco, the backstory. He was the number one prospect in baseball for multiple years. But I just want to walk you through how some of these guys got to Tampa. Randy Arozarena was traded by the Cardinals with Jose Martinez and a 2020 supplemental first-round pick for Edgardo Rodriguez, Matthew Liberatore, and a 2020 supplemental second-round pick. Isaac Paredes was sold at low value by Detroit for Austin Meadows at a swap deal ahead of the season last year. Manuel Margot, traded by San Diego with Logan Driscoll, minor league catcher, to the Rays for Emilio Pagan. Jose Siri was a waiver claim at one point by San Francisco. He was granted free agency. He signed a minor league free agent deal in December 2020 with Houston. And then last year at the deadline, he was part of a 3-team deal. O's sent Trey Mancini to Houston. Houston sent Chase McDermott to Baltimore. Rays sent Jaden Murray to Houston. Rays send Seth Johnson to Baltimore. And Houston sends Jose Siri to Tampa. I mean, these guys were all afterthoughts in some organization. You could argue Paredes was like a prospect that wasn't working out. It's a lot like Adames was with Tampa. But dude, I mean, these are scraps from other teams. It's one club's trash is another club's treasure.
Harold Ramirez, Marlins cast off, right? Like, one of the worst offenses in baseball over the last several years. Trim the fat with Harold Ramirez, and he's been a contributor for them. Mejia was a throw-in, or I'd say he was probably one of the main parts in that deal for Blake Snell, but still was one of the parts in that deal. It is really impressive what they do, man, and that's what's amazing about the offensive side of things. They have all the prospects too that are kind of close to being able to contribute, and the other side is all of those guys are really good in their roles. They were tried on other teams as everyday guys, or, were kind of overlooked because they didn't profile as everyday guys. And the Rays said, okay, well, Isaac Paredes crushes lefties. We're just going to put him at third and let him crush lefties. And he's also made some strides now in just being able to hit guys from, the left side and the right side. But the point being, like, they've put guys in positions to succeed, and they're succeeding.
Dude, and there was no space for Yandy Diaz. Like, Diaz was the backup to Jose Ramirez in Cleveland. 2018 in Cleveland, Yandy Diaz plays 39 games with the then Indians. He plays 98 games in Columbus, and he had an identical OPS at both spots. It was under 800. I mean, every single guy in this lineup has overcome some sort of adversity. Wander Franco, you could say, oh, that guy was given a golden ticket. That guy's been injury prone for the last 2 years.
That's the big X factor for this team. I mean, I know that's not some hard hitting analysis here, but he's playing at an all-star Wander Franco level,
MVP level.
It's 8 games, of course, but that's what you need a star in any sport. You need a star. Even the Rays need a star. There's a reason why they know that. That's why they paid him $200 million. When do the Rays ever do that? This guy has to be healthy, and that's the scariest part, because we shower all this praise on the Rays, and deservedly so. But if Wander Franco goes down, they're still going to make the playoffs, but they look a lot more like last year's team.
Yes.
Like that one, if there's one player that can make that much of a difference for a team, it's probably Wander Franco and the Rays, because you just need that one guy that is feared. The Rays don't really have that feared guy in the lineup, and Wander can be that guy.
What you just described is like the cookie cutter scenario for Wander Franco to win the MVP. If he is healthy the entire year, Tampa wins the AL East, it's probably because Wander Franco is playing like an American League MVP.
Yep, 100%.
Crazy, man. All right. Are you buying this Tampa? Like, you're not buying 162-0, but are you buying like an 105-win Tampa Bay Rays team?
If Wander Franco's healthy, absolutely.
Yeah, I think me too. Are you
I'm not
buying
worried
best
about
record
Yandy
in
Diaz.
baseball?
I'm not worried about Yandy Diaz. I'm not worried about Paredes. I'm not worried about any of those guys because I think Mead, I think Aranda, I think any of those guys can plug in and contribute. They've got a million options there. It's really shortstop position.
If Wander's healthy the whole year, are you buying best record in baseball?
I think there's a legit chance, yeah. Just because of all the reinforcements coming too. Every time this team may hit a snag, oh, we got Baz coming back in a few weeks. Hopefully we have Gloss now. We have prospects that can come up and contribute. Like, we're not even mentioning like a Slevis Basabe, who, if they had to bring him up, like, I think that guy can hit. Like, I love all of their upper minor prospects. We talk about most talented rosters in the minor leagues on the call up. Go check that episode out. Durham Bulls. I don't think there's a better lineup than that. Maybe the Norfolk Tide, the Orioles. That's it. That's
the thing, man. So, like you mentioned, Slevis Basabe, Aranda and Manzardo, Jonathan Aranda, Kyle Manzardo, are both in Durham right now. Curtis Mead is in Durham right now. Like, all these guys are ready and major league capable right now, but they don't have a spot on this Tampa lineup. They are so stupidly deep. And if you're going to watch a team that, like, you're not a fan of right now, ride the hot hand and go watch Tampa Bay Rays baseball.
100%.
Number 2 on my list of 9, the Oneil Cruz information sucks. Fractured ankle, no timetable right now, but I mean, it was like right away. He gets hurt in the 6th, and Derek Shelton, the Pirates manager, says immediately post-game that Oneil Cruz has a fractured ankle. So you assume at least a couple of months. And I mean, this sucks because, like, Oneil, full stop period, is one of the most entertaining watches in baseball. And the Pirates had like this crazy good vibe going through this weekend. I mean, the home opener was cool. Andrew McCutchen, that intro was like super lit. Like, it was just very fun to be like a fly on the wall for the Pirates energy. And that just sucks the life out of it.
Really good vibes at PNC with the McCutchen homer, with just everything that was going on there. And we've talked about how the Pirates, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel with the rebuild, right? Like, you can see the talent starting to matriculate. You can see things starting to come together. That is a tough blow. And you know, it was a weird ass slide, man. Like, I don't want him to kick a guy while he's down. I don't know if he got caught in between. Like, he was unsure if he should slide or not, or what that was. And that's kind of part of the reason why scouts and evaluators bug out a little bit about, 6'7" players playing Major League Baseball as position players, because a guy that last minute is unsure about sliding, that is 6'1", 6'2", can do that a little bit safer and more gracefully. Oneil Cruz doing it is a little bit more of an operation. Yeah. And unfortunately, he got caught in between. I thought ACL. I'm glad it's just an ankle, because, that's not something that will impact explosiveness. That might not, be out as long, but he could be out for the year depending on how it's broken. We're not doctors. So I mean, that's really a shame, because he did look pretty good this year. He seemed like he was slowly starting to get things going and just getting at bats. That's just a guy that needs at bats.
Yeah, 100%. And he needs to see breaking pitches. Like, if you look at the splits in his first however many games at the major league level, like first 50 games at the MLB level, that guy did not touch breaking balls. And then guess what happens when he sees 50 games worth of big league breaking balls? He starts to hit them, or he starts to take them, and the numbers skyrocket. This guy's one of the more talented players in baseball. He's going to figure the shit out. And unfortunately, he's going to be out for a couple of months. What I hated was the social media reaction from the White Sox circle, as weird as it sounds.
Social media, noticeably and always historically reasonable.
I thought it was a breeding ground for positivity and uplifting spirits, but no, I guess not. Yeah, man. I mean, White Sox fan base was like, there was one idiot troll that said like good when it was announced.
But that's
that's stupid.
Yeah, any fan base anyway.
The thing that kind of killed me was like, there were some fan outlets with the White Sox that, were almost treating this like the benches clearing altercation was warranted after that. Sebi Zavala was not trying to break Oneil Cruz's ankle. Oneil Cruz was not trying to crash into Sebi Zavala. Zavala was hot. I guess he said something to Oneil Cruz. Like, whatever. He didn't.
I don't think he knew Oneil Cruz was.
No,
I don't think he didn't know Oneil Cruz was hurt. It was an objectively horrible slide. And if I'm catching a ball at home and a 6'7" dude full speed runs into my legs, I'd probably say something too, man.
Yes.
Like, I don't think he knew how bad it was. And then once he did, it was too late. Like, that happens. I'm not I thought it was ridiculous to have any negative reaction on either end. Like, it just was one of those unfortunate situations. Yeah. Like, that's all it was.
When you watch the replay, it's just so clear that there was so much indecision from Oneil, and you watch the replay and it's like, well, why didn't he slide, to the outside of the third base line? We can think and replay all we want. He's got to make a decision in real time. It was not the best decision, and hesitation was the thing that did his ankle in. And everybody's heads got unscrewed for a minute. And the White Sox fan base, I thought, and I don't want to speak for the fan base as a whole, but there were a lot of people within that White Sox fan base that reacted negatively, and that was really upsetting. So that's my only thought on that. Hope he recovers very quickly. Hope he's back this year, because that probably means a couple games on a rehab appearance in Indy, and that would be fun to see Oneil Cruz play baseball in person again.
Top plays shortstop. Who plays shortstop? Who plays shortstop now?
Either Bay. We can talk about Ji-hwan Bae if you want for a minute, although we've, pretty much every time the Pirates come up.
I think Bae probably takes over a little bit, right? Or who plays? Yeah.
Tucupita Marcano is hitting 500 in triple right now. He's 14 for 28. He's got 8 doubles, I want to say. Holy smokes, dude. So they might just ride the hot hand with Marcano. Rodolfo Castro is pretty talented. So I assume it's either going to be Castro or Ji-hwan Bae.
I could see Castro kind of holding it down. I like Bae in the super utility role. I really do.
Same. All right. Top 4 in Major League Baseball and OPS right now. Adam Duvall. Hope his wrist is okay. That was a weird bend when he was diving for a catch. James Outman, Brian Reynolds, and Mike Trout. That's in order. Adam Duvall, the Red Sox, James Outman of the Dodgers, the rookie, Brian Reynolds, who is in contract talks with the Pirates as we stand, and the modern-day Mickey Mantle, Mike Trout, is 4. I just thought that top 4 in OPS, they're all OPSing over 1,300 right now, was hilarious.
That's how I had it drawn up. Duvall, this is what he does, man. When he's hot, he's hot. But what I will say that's standing out, small sample size theater here, 33 plate appearances. He's punched out a handful of times. Yeah. So that's the one thing that stands out to me, because usually even when Duvall is hot, it's 1 for 3 with 2 Ks and a homer. That's not the case with Duvall. He's playing good ball. He's putting together good at bats. So I'm interested to see how that continues. Reynolds, this is what he does, man. He mashes. He's got a fire lit under him. I think he's going to, obviously he's not going to hit 424, 432, 1000 all year, but he's one of my favorite swings, especially from the left side of Major League Baseball. It's so simple and it's so powerful and he's so athletic. I think this is his coming out party again. I think he's going to remind us, hey, that guy I was 2 years ago, I might be that, but better. I think last year was kind of a wash in a lot of ways. I think he can get by in center field. He doesn't need to be playing center field every single day. And he was playing at center field every single day on a horrible team. This is a little bit more competitive team. He has more incentive and he's not playing center field every day. I think Reynolds is going to go nuts this year.
Most days he's not playing center field. It's either been Bae or Sawinski, and Sawinski is really struggling right now. But if you make Bae the center fielder and you have Reynolds in left, you're looking at a very strong Brian Reynolds, which I absolutely love. James Outman is kind of the king of the world right now. And the Dodgers, they struggled a little bit this weekend in Arizona, but Jason Hayward went yard again. James Outman looks like a freak of nature. I heard Joe Davis call him Babe Outman on one of his home runs, which is just insane. But we knew that he was tooled the hell up, and we're seeing all those tools right now, dude.
Yeah. He's punching out. So it's going to be interesting to see, how that'll continue when he gets more consistent at bats. But who cares if he punches out, if he gets his? And right now he's getting his, meaning he's hitting his home runs, getting his extra base hits, and he's using his speed. This is a guy that if he is put in a position to succeed consistently, I really think he will, meaning, he doesn't need to face lefties a ton. You can put him in certain spots, platoon him. He could take the bulk of a platoon and be a guy. And that's the thing with the Dodgers. That's all they need. Yeah. They just needed somebody that could take the left side of a platoon here. And Outman might be that dude. But what's funny is Hayward might be too. It's pretty wild how both of these guys look great. This is great news for the Dodgers and their outlook, because we've talked about, quote unquote, the relative vulnerability of the lineup. Yeah, this really helps fortify them with the performance you're getting from Outman, who's a great athlete and can play all 3 outfield spots too. He's been really fun to watch.
Yeah, 100%, man. All right, my next take. Oh, Mike Trout. Mike Trout's really good. Do you have anything to say about him?
No, he's Mike Trout. There's there's not much we can say. I will say, like, the one thing that does stand out that's different is we did have that whole story about the back and all that, and maybe he'll never be the same. And he said it was overblown, and I was like, okay, maybe it is overblown, but still, I'm a little scared and whatever. So far, so good, man. And like that, I don't want to jinx anything. I don't know if it's something that can get bad at 35 or whatever, but right now, he looks just like the Mike Trout we have become accustomed to seeing, if anything, as good as ever. And I think that's kind of going to be the case, right? Like, he's always going to be this guy, and I think he's only going to get better and better with his swing decisions and just with knowing how guys are going to attack him. And what's most amazing about it is, I'm watching him in the World Baseball Classic pick the brain of Ken Griffey Jr. Yeah. And I'm saying, okay, this is a 31-year-old who, if he retired today, is a Hall of Famer, one of the best to ever swing the bat. And he's still learning.
Yeah.
Like, what's a Mike Trout look like that's still learning, that's still gaining knowledge and continuing to improve? Sure, he may slow down a tad, but he's going to offset that with whatever he's learning between the years. He might get better. Who fucking knows? That's what's so cool about it.
That's my thing, man. Like, we're 8 games into the season, and I've come to terms with the idea that whenever Mike Trout is on the field, he will be generational. It's literally just a matter of him being on the field. Like, I know we occasionally see a 10-game slump from Trout where he punches out left and right. Whatever, I can weather that for 5 games. I think now that Trout is on the other side of 30, I don't know if we see a 10-game stretch like that. We may see a 5-game stretch like that. But this guy, I mean, he is just so ridiculously amazing. I think we're watching a guy that may go down in the top 5 or 6 in terms of all-time great baseball players, and just enjoy the shit out of it.
5 strikeouts in 36 plate appearances too, which stands out to me because we know he's going to strike out like that.
Well, according to Mad Dog, he strikes out 175 times a year, which, by the way, it's never done before.
Never done once, and it's just such a weird. Even if he did, like,
he just wants to be negative.
Yeah, right. Like, we're trying to find a negative on Mike Trout. Like, what are we gaining by that?
How much do you hate this game? If you hate the game that much, stop doing your daily baseball show.
Just do the First Take with Stephen A. and talk about the Lakers, bro. Like, that would be, I would rather him do that, unless, if you're going to tear down baseball, like, just talk about the Lakers and the Cowboys with Stephen A. And we both know that that's what he wants to do anyways. But yeah, I mean, the fact that Mike Trout every single year has a chance to have his best year ever is what makes him so great. And I'm excited to see if this might be his best year ever, because last year with 40 home runs in 119 games, he was more than on pace to set his career high. His career high was 45. He could have hit 50 last year. He could have hit 55. He could have pushed past that. Like, a full season of Mike Trout is probably the only other guy that I think could really make that push for 60 as well. And we thought the Aaron Judge 60 chase was good for baseball last year. What if we had an old-fashioned Sosa McGuire race with Trout and Judge? Judge hit 2 on Easter Sunday. Could you imagine if we had a home run race between these two guys?
It'd be excellent. It would be the best theater we could have after the Ohtani Trout World Baseball Classic. Yep. Okay, so you've got Judge and Trout competing for a home run crown while Shohei Ohtani's in a contract year.
Yes.
Fold it. Best year baseball's ever had.
Yep.
All right. Next order of business. Nick Lodolo is him with a capital H. 2 starts for the Reds this year, 12 innings, 10 hits, 2 runs, 21 strikeouts in 12 innings, 4 walks. Lodolo has yet to give up a home run. This guy, I think, like, in pretty much everybody's point of view, has leapfrogged Hunter Green as like the one in that Reds rotation. He looks like a future ace and maybe a current one.
That's why I wanted him to start opening day, but I understand what comes with it. Like, I get that Hunter Green is the lightning rod of attention because he throws 109 and that's what gets the headlines and people know Hunter Green. But let's be clear. As long as he's healthy, Nick Lodolo should start every single opening day in Cincinnati moving forward. And that is not a slight on Hunter Green. I think Hunter Green's going to have a nice career as long as he is healthy. But Nick Lodolo is the better big league pitcher. And Hunter Green is the better big league thrower. That's the difference. Lodolo used to have a little bit of thrower in him, right? He always started to throw hard. Once that velo ticked up, it was disgusting breaking ball that he didn't even have to locate that well. Like we saw Josh Harrison swing and miss and hit him in the foot. He's doing that to guys in the minors. His fastball location stunk. I know you had a ball watching him spot that fastball in that last start, because that was what was so amazing to me, is it was up, down, east, west, and then throwing that disgusting sweeping breaking ball off of that. What stands out to me is that this guy has become like that pitchability lefty with a mid-90s fastball and one of the nastiest sweeping breaking balls you're ever going to see. This is a bona fide ace in the making here. He's got to do it longer, but like in terms of in a vacuum, what we saw, bona fide ace. And this is what we saw in the minor leagues when we ranked him at Just Baseball. I know that was like, you agreed with that. Like everybody that I talked to on our staff, I was like, this is what I want to do. Like we might get some pushback. Everyone's like, I support it. And we did it. Lodolo over Hunter Green in those rankings. And I mean, Lodolo should be over Hunter Green in the rotation now too.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a chess player, man. Like he turned from a thrower to a guy that is getting close to becoming a grandmaster at pitching chess. Like those are the best baseball players, the ones that are otherworldly talented, that are so good at hitting their spots. That's what made Kershaw a future first ballot Hall of Famer. Clayton Kershaw had as much talent as anybody in his early to mid 20s. But guess what that guy did sooner than anybody else in their early to mid 20s? He got fucking good at pitching. He got really good at playing chess. And Lodolo is getting really good at playing chess really quickly. I think this guy is a step behind Lodolo, but I think Mackenzie Gore is starting to figure out how to play chess too. And you saw that in Colorado, because those are two guys that have very similar mechanics, where it feels like they get down on the mound incredibly well. They're good athletes. They've got a great breaking ball, a mid-90s fastball, but they are getting better at beating the hitter mentally before they beat them physically. And Lodolo is beating hitters mentally right now with his fastball. He's got the makings of like all-star, like the blow up that you saw McClanahan have last year. I'd say Lodolo's that candidate this year.
Especially with the four-seamer and the sinker. He gets the ground balls with the sinker. He got the four-seamer at the top of the zone. Like, again, you talk about the chess, like that's what he's got working with him now. The curveball, the slider, the changeup. You can't really game plan for this guy. And now he's got the stuff and the pitchability to really be steady with the splits too. Righties aren't any more comfortable either. And that's going to be a problem for hitters for a long time. And he just turned 25, by the way.
That slider, kind of Sale-esque, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Wild. All right. Next order. Matt Chapman and Luis Arraez are both hitting 470 through the first week and change. And like, I don't have many takeaways. Contract year Matt Chapman, I think we were all expecting him to have a serious bump from his production a year ago. Luis Arraez, we knew that he was going to be that Corvette in the mobile home trailer. Like in this Marlins lineup.
It's a Bugatti, by the way.
Sorry, Bugatti. There we go. Not a Corvette. The reason I put this down on my agenda, quote unquote, is just because like those are two incredibly likable guys that are hitting 470. Like I see Matt Chapman and Luis Arraez at the top of the batting title leaderboards a week in, and I'm like, I like those guys. They're both good, and they're both guys that I feel like are pretty easy to root for.
You know what stands out to me the most about Chapman? Small sample size theater, but he's not swinging and missing that much. It's not just like the lower strikeout rate, period. His zone contact, I think, is the best it's ever been, ever. Like, it's not even, I don't think we've seen anything close. Of course, small amount of games, but I don't even know how many stretches of games Chapman has had with this few swings and misses. So I'm very interested to monitor that all year. If Matt Chapman has a career high in zone contact this year, and is, still doing the same things power wise and defensively, obviously defensively. If I were a team, I'd feel real good about giving him a lot of money. I really would, because if he figured something out at age 30, he's going to be 30 in a month, bat to ball wise, everything else is good. You don't have to worry about that. And that'll help him age a little bit better too. I am really fascinated to follow Chapman all year in a contract year. And, because there's going to be an endless amount of suitors for him too. I mean, what team doesn't want an elite defensive third baseman who, even if he doesn't put the bat to ball together, like runs into enough home runs to be really exciting. If the bat to ball comes together this year, this guy is going to be one of the more intriguing free agents in the entire market.
off the dome, like the only teams that wouldn't be suitors are San Diego, St. Louis, Houston, Boston, and Atlanta. I think that might be it.
That's like, I can't think of another team that will. I'm literally looking at it right now. I don't think I can think of another team. There's not one that wouldn't be interested.
No,
he's going to get paid. I think people are going to be shocked at how much money he gets, even if he falls off a little bit, like because of the long list of suitors.
$150 million over or under. That might be on the nose.
That was literally the number I was going to give, but 7 years. That's like on the nose.
I'll say 7 years, 150.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Okay. So Arraez hitting 470. I watched more of Marlins Mets than I should have this weekend because I love watching Luis Arraez hit.
Dude, he's
so fun.
I was trying to imagine what this Marlins lineup would be without Luis Arraez. It's kind of crazy because it's not like this trade was like done in the beginning of the offseason. This was like the 11th hour where Kim Hang makes this move. If they don't trade for Luis Arraez, this team is, oh my gosh, is it the worst offense in baseball? Arraez and Cooper have been awesome. But Arraez is like just the one guy that can like save them from just going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 every single inning. I tweeted this, other than having a left-handed pitcher, because he's not a great splits guy. Oh, whatever. For a right-handed pitcher, I would love to see what the scouting report is against Luis Arraez. What do? He can hit high fastballs. He can hit low breaking balls. He can turn stuff around inside. He can throw his hands out at something outside. He hits fastballs, breaking balls, 95 plus. He hits changeups. It doesn't really matter. There's no blue zone. So it's almost one of those things where I forget what broadcaster was talking about it, but they were saying how with Tony Gwynn, there was no game plan that really worked. So pitchers just wanted to save their pitches and just throw it down the middle and say whatever. And I almost wonder if that's the case with Arraez sometimes. It's like, do you want him to spoil 12 pitches just to hit the single? You want to just get it over with, throw it in the bottom region of the zone and hope he hits it at somebody. Like, I really think that's all you can hope for with Luis Arraez at this point.
Honest to God, he could hit 350 this year. He's not going to hit 470, but like he could
with
hit
the Lone Depot gaps. Yes, yeah. I really do think so. Because like, well, what are you going to walk him? Like, you're not worried about anybody behind him.
No.
Yeah, you might as well just go after him. And he's not. If he was a home run threat, I'd be more nervous about it because I'd say, oh, well, then they'll walk him and pitch to somebody else. Let Arraez hit a single, and then you're not really worried about anybody else. I think he wins the batting title. I really do.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, here's another take. If you were to set a line on the Marlins getting no hit in a Arraez off day, is it minus 200?
if Garrett Cooper and Luis Arraez were out of the lineup
on the same day, no hit,
I would bet on it every single day until it hit. You know, assuming they give you like 20 to 1, 30 to 1 odds, like plus 3,000. I think I'd take it every day for 30 days. Like, that's how bad the lineup is. Gene Segura, I think, has an 80% ground ball rate. I'm not kidding.
Dude.
I'm not kidding. I want to pull this up. And I think Avi Garcia is hitting the IL, which is good news for the Marlins because Peyton Burdick just hit his 4th home run in AAA and probably would be the guy getting the call up.
I would assume.
Can't be worse. Legit impossible for him to be worse. But as I am pulling it up, the ground ball rate for Gene Segura, 78.9%.
Dude, come on.
He has to be doing that on purpose.
Committing to the bit.
There's no way. Like, that's impressive.
The only other possible protection for Arraez aside from Garrett Cooper could be Jazz Chisholm. And the next point, I've got 3 more after this one, and we'll go through those relatively quickly. But the Jazz thing is getting out of hand. Whether it's the defensive experiment in center or getting ejected, midway through a game on a Sunday afternoon because he didn't like a strike call, or arguing on Twitter. Like, I don't know, you got into a back and forth on Twitter with him, and you weren't even arguing with him. Like, it was
at all.
I mean, it's just so weird. This guy feels like the most fragile cover athlete of a video game ever.
Yeah, I really wasn't expecting him to reply to me there. And if you'll notice on my Twitter, unless it's Javi Baez, I really don't tweet things negative about players. And my tweet wasn't even negative. I just said what he did, which was Jazz, it literally didn't add any adjectives or anything. I just said Jazz Chisholm on a 2-0 count with 2 outs and a runner on first, squared to bunt, missed it. And then later on a 3-1 count, squared to bunt again and missed it, then popped up on a tough 3-2 pitch. All I said. He replied to me and said, if I laid it down for a hit, you would have been saying it was smart or whatever. And I liked the reply because I thought it was a funny point. And if he laid it down for a hit, I probably don't tweet about it. That's a fair point, right? But at the same notion, you have Avi Garcia on deck with 2 outs. Yeah. I want Jazz Chisholm swinging 2-0, getting his hacks in. That's a guy that's probably hitting 3-something, or at least slugging real high, 2-0 and 3-1. I'd rather that than a fresh count and 2 outs to Avi. So that's all I was saying. He actually liked my reply and had no issue with me, but then he was going at it with other fans because I just said, you're an all-star bat. I want to see you swing it. And that was it. We left it at that. And then he's like, you liked my tweet, Aran, and spell my name A-R-A-N. Yeah. So you agree with the laughing emoji. I'm like, holy crap, I didn't even respond yet. It was just me liking. So that's a guy that that was the first thing he did after the game. That's pretty wild. You're the cover athlete of the show.
You're in New York City. Go do something else. Go to
instead of defending your bunt attempt. So that was weird. And he was kind of going at it with other fans. Dude, just let it go. Just play ball. I thought that was kind of weird. Getting tossed, it seemed like it was a little bit of an ump show there. He always does the bat flip thing when it's ball 4, but he was kind of jarring at him all game. He did sound good in the post-game presser. Said, I talked to Skip. Skip said, I can't get tossed there. He's right. Let my teammates down, blah, blah, blah. Said all the right things. Did also say that he made the umpire butt hurt, which was kind of funny to hear a player say. But I mean, yeah, come on. This is the concern with Jazz Chisholm, right? And this is why people are saying, oh, why don't the Marlins extend him? They're not going to offer him. Yes, they're cheap, but that they weren't too cheap to offer, Sandy a pre-arb deal before he went Cy Young. I bet they won't be too cheap to talk about a pre-arb deal with Luzardo or some other guys. They would love to probably lock up somebody like Jazz. The Rays did it with Wander. I'm not comparing them, but I'm just saying, talent-wise on the field, the Marlins have not had a hitter like that. They would lock him up if they could. There's no way that you're investing in Jazz Chisholm, the person, right now. And I'm not saying he's a bad person. No. I'm saying you're investing in him to be a high-level Major League Baseball player, and I don't know if he's mature enough to do that right now. Maybe he will be. He's 25. He's young. But if you're wondering why the Marlins haven't even talked about it yet, it's because he has not given them any reason to attach themselves to him for 5+ years. There's a lot of red flags here in terms of the way he carries himself. And it's not like it's the first time. This guy needs to grow up a little bit. I don't think he's a bad guy. I want that to be very clear. I think he's a good person. I think he's really fun. I think he's great for the game of baseball.
He's great.
But for a team that's trying to win games and a franchise that's trying to get out of the gutter, you can't miss on a dude like you did with Avi and other guys, especially when it has nothing to do with the baseball. And that's the side of it for me. So I am a little worried about Jazz Chisholm, the player, and how disruptive, or the character, and how disruptive that's going to be to a young Marlins clubhouse that's trying to turn things around.
And I feel like a lot of the conversation, that's perfect. I don't really have much to add. I think a lot of the conversation about Jazz right now is very similar to the conversation that a lot of people were having about Manny Machado when he was this age.
Totally.
Had those immaturity issues. And look at him now. He is the captain of the Padres. He is the leader of the Padres. And he is one of the best players in baseball. So Machado, yes. Was he more talented at this age than Jazz is? Yeah, but it's not that far off. Jazz is very not talented.
That insane. And if you produce, that helps, of course. But that said, there's a scenario where Jazz just will mature and get there. If Manny Machado got there, Jazz Chisholm can get there. I think that's a great point.
That's the thing. We're 25 years old and we remember the immature Baltimore Oriole Manny Machado, but the younger generation that is getting into baseball and playing the video game and finding out who Jazz Chisholm is, they don't know Manny Machado right now. They don't know that Manny Machado. They know Manny Machado as the leader and the really good player. They don't know him as, the immature little shit at points in Baltimore that he once was. And all I'm saying is Jazz has time to change the narrative here, and I hope it changes relatively soon.
Yeah.
3 more. 2 Yankee points, I guess 1.5 Yankee points. I'll save Volpe for second. Gleyber Torres is making it really hard for Oswald Peraza to see a path to playing. That's just what I wrote in OneNote here. Peraza we thought maybe would just like be waiting until they might move Gleyber at the deadline, and then it's Peraza at short, Volpe at second. Now it's looking like Volpe or Peraza at short and Gleyber at second if the Yankees want to contend for a World Series.
Trade bait in Peraza here if Gleyber keeps hitting, man. I mean, he has been okay. I've been a Gleyber doubter, no doubt about it. Like I've been very, very skeptical.
You're not the only one.
Yeah, and just because the approach, the swing, all of those good things, the approach has been better. The contact rates so far have been fantastic, and that's dating back to spring training as well. And this guy showed us he exceeded my expectations last year too. So he's building on that. And another guy that he just turned 26. Like things could be finally clicking for him. Yeah, he was another example of us pitting him against himself because of that crazy year he had. And then league adjusted to him, couldn't quite match it again, was still productive. And, I think a lot of us, myself included, were very quick to say, oh, he's not getting back there again.
Yeah.
24, 25, now 26. If this is an example of things to come, of something that he figured out, it's great news because now the Yankees have a lot more options at their disposal of ways that they can approach things. They've got still a year to leverage if they wanted to extend Gleyber, and they might consider that if he hits for another four months or so. Mm-hmm. But they also potentially could trade Peraza and say, we'll put together a really good package and go get somebody really solid because Peraza plus a couple of their other prospects, that'll get you some dudes. That'll get you some good big league talent. So Gleyber hitting just almost gave them a bunch of found money because Peraza was never expendable. And if Gleyber hits for another month or two, Peraza might be expendable.
So here's the thing. They already started Volpe's clock, but Volpe isn't playing well at all right now. So I don't think they abort mission. I don't think they pull the Torkelson and option him to Scranton. I think it's just Volpe and they're going to let him, they're going to do everything in their power to make him swim. Because if he sinks, there are some serious problems here. And that may be why you have Peraza as a security blanket. But you've got such a high standard that I think is set for Volpe. And again, overreaction theater a week and change into the season. But Volpe's really struggling right now.
Yeah, 8 games, what I like though is you're still seeing him, making an impact on the base paths, making an impact defensively. And that's the thing that he's always going to do. And is he going to hit 160 all year? Even if he has a down year, he's going to be better than what they got from Isaiah Kiner-Falefa for last year. I really do think that it's 8 games for him at the big league level. Remember, he only played 22 games in AAA last year. So they knew that this was going to be a little bit of a process. And I think that's why they did it so early in the season, so that he has time to get acclimated and shake the cobwebs off. I'm not getting worried until we're 40 games in and he's hitting, below 220. If we're 40 games in and he's hitting below 220, then I'll start to, even then I'm not sounding the alarms, but I'll start to be worried. But that just shows you how long it's going to be until I'm really saying anything. Unless he's getting absolutely blown up. But again, he's still walking. He's still running, making an impact on the bases. He's 3 for 3 on stolen bases in 8 games. He's playing good defense. The game doesn't look too fast for him. I just think he's getting acclimated in the batter's box.
No, and he just missed his first career homer at Camden Yards to the pull side on Saturday night, which, was a really good swing, resulted in a triple, his first extra base hit, all that. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think it's going to take 40 games for me to worry. The other thing that jumps out is all the Yankees need Volpe to be is Bryson Stott last year. And Stott is taking a step up. But remember, Stott kind of sucked for the first month that he was in Major League Baseball. So I think if Volpe put up a Bryson Stott slash line from a year ago, I think the Yankees are okay with that. Yankee fans won't be, but I think that Aaron Boone is okay with that. And I think that Aaron Judge is okay with that. And they're getting exactly what they need from their rookie shortstop.
Yep, 100%.
So Volpe was the first half of my 8th and penultimate point. The second half of that point was that Jordan Walker looks like the truth right now. Yeah. And I know, I'm sick of saying the precursor. I know it's only been a week, but Walker is just hitting the crap out of the ball. And his homer was a laser. And he is a constant in a Cardinals lineup that, slumped in that entirety of the series against Atlanta. And then they broke out in Milwaukee. They looked great. And Walker was kind of spearheading that, man. Like Jordan Walker, he doesn't look good and right, but the bat is proving John Mozeliak right now that he should have been there on opening day.
Yep. Yep. And I mean, what's standing out the most to me, again, because you can only look at so much in 8 games, is the lack of swing and miss. And that's the biggest thing for me, right? Like we're seeing him really not whiff a ton. And that was going to be the concern, because I do think he's going to strike out like a fair amount in the major leagues just based on his swing and his profile. And for whatever reason, he's really been really comfortable. He's not expanding the zone too much. Would I like to see in a couple walks in the early going? Sure, but he's not striking out. So it's been really awesome to see. And this is as he gets his feet wet. So if he continues on this trajectory, he might really make an impact this year. But it is awesome to see him not swinging and missing much, because that's the number one thing I'm looking at. And so far, so good.
Yeah, 100%. And then last thing, Gunnar Henderson, what do you make of his start? Through 7 games, he's 4 for 24. He's walking a lot, but he struck out 13 times in 24 ABs and in 31 plate appearances. Gunnar has 2 extra base hits in 31 plate appearances so far. With how good Adley came out of the gates, Gunnar has kind of been the opposite of that. And I'm not worried about Gunnar Henderson. You know, it's the Andrew Luck, Robert Griffin III thing. And it's going to be the Stroud, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson thing. And I don't believe in Will Levis. That's a conversation for another time in an entirely different sport. But like you're always going to be compared to who you came up at the same time as. And Gunnar and Corbin Carroll will always go neck and neck. And Corbin Carroll is 800 OPSing right now through the first week, and he's 5 for 5 in the stolen base department. Carroll's off to the start we expected. Gunnar is not. What do you make of that?
Yeah, that's kind of why I always liked Corbin a little bit more as a prospect. Is there's just so many more ways he can impact the game, and I think it takes some pressure off of the bat. Like Gunnar really has to hit, and he's just not hitting that great so far right now. I think the thing that I see so far is just been the timing. Like he just seems in between, and I'm not too worried about it. He was really good in his big league stretch last year, which was 4 times what we've already seen this year, right? Think about it. He played 30 something games, I think it was. So we already had a bigger stretch of success last year. I really think it's just early season timing issues. I think he'll be just fine. And that's the thing too. The Orioles offense looks pretty good, and they're not really getting much out of Gunnar. So I think they got a lot more, that could be going for them. And Jorge Mateo has been great, and other guys have been picking up the slack. Other guys are going to slump, and then Gunnar's going to get going. It's just the way it is. And unfortunately, it's just the higher profile name that's not off to the best start right now.
Yeah, and speaking to the depth, Jordan Westburg hit his second homer of the week on Sunday for Norfolk. Like that whole Norfolk lineup is really good. Gunnar is there to stay. Ramon Arraez has looked good, but if Ramon Arraez struggles at all, like insert Norby, insert Westburg. Yep. They have so many contingency plans.
Ortiz.
Yeah, Joey Ortiz. They've got so many guys that are yearning for that call up that could make a serious impact. I think Gunnar is going to, honestly, this week, I bet Gunnar's up near like the 250 marker. He's at $1.67.
I think he's going to get hot, and we're going to be like, oh, yep, there we go. That's it.
There we go.
Like,
so
I think it really is that simple.
Waste of 3 minutes on the Just Baseball Show in 3 or 4 days. So love it. This has been the Just Baseball Show presented by BetMGM. Hit our link tree for every link you need. We've also got our promo code for BetMGM Just Baseball in the show notes as well. We're going to talk college ball. I'm going to be with the Peters tomorrow. Peter Flaherty of Baseball America. Crazy. And Peter Apple, we're going to talk about why the Pirates are going to take Dylan Cruz, and the rest of it doesn't effing matter.
Yeah. Love it.
Love it. All right, guys, we'll talk to you tomorrow.